16th, 2025 will please come to order. May we have the roll call and determination of a quorum, please?
Chair Pulitz, Vice Chair Norvell,
Present.
Treasurer Rogers, here. Member Flint,
Here.
Member Golden,
Here.
Member Horton, Member Hutter.
Present.
A quorum is present.
Thank you. John, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, John. Approval of the minutes of past meetings of the Airport Authority. Do we have any discussion on previous minutes? Seeing none, we stand in need of a motion then. John, may we have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item carries unanimously. Modification of the agenda. There will be no modification of the agenda tonight. It will remain as published. Public comments. Members of the public who wish to address the Airport Authority may speak on agendized and non-agendized matters related to the airport. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person or topic. If your item requires extended discussion, please request the chairman to calendar the matter for a future Airport Authority meeting. Any comments from the public as we begin? Seeing none, we will continue on. Airport engineers report.
Hi, everyone. So for the record, Brian Martinez-Molas with Wood Rogers. Similar update from last time. We have a handful of projects that are awaiting grant funding. We are hopeful that we'll get the funding here in the next month or so from the FAA. Those projects, it's the RSA Drainage and Improvements Project, Main Apron Rehab Project, and then there's also a pavement preservation project, which is not grant funded, but we would like to bid those together for kind of benefits from a scaling standpoint. So we're waiting on those. And then in addition, Wood Rogers helped the airport with the preparation of a DBE program. And so we've submitted a first draft to the airport manager for review. So that's where we've been the last month.
Okay, thank you. Do the members have any questions or comments for the airport engineer? John.
This is not for our airport engineer, but I'd love to get an update on the SRE building.
I have a little bit of information on that. So from Lochner, previously known as Armstrong, they're on track to start beginning of next month for some of the groundwork for the SRE building. And also for the beginning of next month, we're on track to have the FAA flight test for the offset PAPI to be completed. I don't have more specific information than that right now.
All right, thank you. Moving on then, consent agenda. Are the members in concurrence with the item on the consent agenda? If so, then, Member Hutter, may we have a motion, please?
Move to approve the item on the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second? Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, that carries unanimously. Public hearings. Item number 1, we have one item tonight. For discussion and possible action, consider bids received responsive to the resolution and notice of invitation to bid and award lease for the parcel located at the south side of the airport, being 2.48 acres, bounded by College Parkway, the airport parking lot, and the existing lease to the west and north of the subject parcel. Lease award made pursuant to Nevada Revised Statutes 244.283. Mr. Takis and Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, this is Steve Takis, Airport Council. We have followed all the requirements of the statute in terms of the authority adopting a resolution and putting this out to bid. We received one bid, which is from Eagle Valley Airport Development, LLC. The airport manager and I have both examined the bid and compared it to the bid requirements, and it's compliant in all respects. We can answer any questions that you may have. There's also a representative from Eagle Valley Airport Development LLC here in case there are questions you want to direct to him. But our recommendation is that you go ahead and award the bid or award the lease to Eagle Valley Airport Development LLC.
Thank you. Member Flint, may we start with you if you have any comments?
No comment.
John?
No comment.
Member Golden?
I do have a comment
Please.
in support of the matter. I've been working with the applicant in discussions, I should say, for a long time. I'm going to say at least 18 months. And we couldn't ask for a better team with these folks to lease this land. It is valuable land with both airside and off-airport access. Very few parcels have this type of visibility and access, from where it sits on the road to where the access is to the airfield. I think the proposal that came in from the applicant looks great. I'm thrilled to support it. And like I said, I can vouch for the applicant, having been in discussion with their representative here for quite some time.
I concur with that myself. Member Hutter.
Well, I will say that while I've been following this with enthusiasm since the beginning, or at least since when it came before this group, I don't think I had seen before tonight the architectural renderings or elevations. And I'm kind of giggling over here because something really fantastic has been pulled off. I had not thought about this parcel having hangars situated on the parcel and facing the way that they are proposed before, and you've pulled off something wonderful, which is south-facing hangar doors without ice and snow on your ramp. So, I'm going to just compliment whoever was thinking here by pushing them back and facing them that way. That was a solid win for a Northern Nevada airport. But this is really exciting, so I'm certainly thrilled to be seeing it moving forward and happy to support.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Saying none, we'll bring it back to the board. Further discussion from board members. John, go ahead.
I'm looking at the renderings and I'm not sure if I'm completely clear on how the new construction relates to the tower, the cell tower and the beacon tower. Are there any issues there?
I can comment on that. Let's see, I don't have page numbers, but the first rendering where you can see the entire area, on the west side there, you can see how this proposal goes right up to and right around the current land that's dedicated for use by the cell phone companies that are using the tower. The tower doesn't really appear on this very well, but it's just outside of their leasehold. And you see two little white structures. Those little white structures are, so that's the support material for the cell phone companies on that tower. There's a fenced-in area there, and this proposal goes right along that fence. There's also a access point just to the west of the southwest corner of this proposal, where there is a gate and a road where that tower is fully accessible without having to cross over this proposed leasehold. So this does not interfere with the infrastructure that's over there. I did discuss with the company, Eagle Valley Airport Development LLC, that the cell phone tower is there and that they're going to have to do an analysis with the height of the buildings to make sure that their construction does not interfere with the transmission from that tower. And they've agreed to accommodate that. It appears that the tower is above the building, so it won't actually be a factor. However, we will be looking at that more closely before final approval to proceed with construction.
This is just kind of a curiosity item for the guy who's got the least flying experience of anybody sitting up here. Do we have to provide any protection for the drivers on College Parkway from the blasts from the airplanes as they go in there?
That's a great question. This whole presentation is going to be reviewed by Wood Rogers. So if the board decides to award this, it'll go under an engineering review. It'll also go through a 743 application process with the FAA. So there will be many steps taken to look for those exact types of concerns. If that does end up being a concern, then the applicant would be required to build the fence up accordingly to prevent any sort of issue with the road. And I think that's a really good observation. So thanks for bringing that up.
Maybe one just architectural question, because this, as was noted, is one of the unique properties that has good airside and landside access. Obviously, the elevations or the renderings aren't at the level of detail yet, but is the concept that at least for the two easternmost hangar buildings, that the parking lot adjacent to the terminal is going to be able to be used as a parking lot with access to the north side of those buildings? And what is from the airport standpoint, the right to use that parking lot as part of this leasehold? How does that work out?
So that's a great question. You can see with the site plan that they've actually got plans to add additional parking spaces directly in front of that commercial service building. And with all of the FBOs that have access to this parking lot, there is no specific designation for number of spaces available. So we are not doing anything different with this parcel other than they are going to be able to use our parking lot for their needs. And that's pretty much the way we have to approach it, because that's the precedent that's been set with the other leaseholds on the parking lot. This is also going to be subject to building permits with the city, and the city will go through the entire process of a parking analysis through the building permit process. And so they will be making the determination if the parking is going to be adequate or not. The applicant has been very proactive. They've already gone through a major project review with the city, and so they've already kind of preliminarily addressed these items. And they've already thought about it in advance, because you see they do have additional parking spots going in there. About that section, we do have plans to make that curb better for truck access to the airport. That's not shown here in these plans, but the applicant has agreed to work with us to make sure that curb is designed to accommodate trucks accessing the airport. This is a interesting timing for that topic, because we just had 2 large trucks come to the airport today, which were not able to get in through that access point. So we were able to get them on the airport by using Gonai Road and the big gate over on Gonai Road. But we need to get that fixed, and the applicant is willing to work with us to help make that happen. So,
Any other discussion from board members? John?
So the allowance for this new project to use the parking lot, will that be written into is that part of the lease, or is that going to be just
the precedent that's been set is that it's not in the lease. It's not in any of the leases that utilize that parking lot. It's probably not the best precedent, but that's that's the way it is. So we didn't change from that.
Okay, any other discussion?
Sorry, not to bring up yet another question, but just one, because I think it's relevant to what we were just talking about. Will there be any additional airside accesses for road vehicles created as a result of this construction? Or will the closest point of access for cars to the airside be through the gates on either side of the terminal building as they are today?
Vehicle access to the airport is controlled and maintained by the airport. So none of the FBOs with direct access actually have their own gate. So as of right now, there would be no planned changes to gates.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, then Member Golden, may we have a motion, please?
Absolutely. So I would move to award the lease to Eagle Valley Airport Development LLC on the basis of the bid submitted at the rate of 64 cents per square foot per annum under the terms offered by the authority, and authorize and direct the authority chair to execute the lease with the lessee's signature, authorize staff to present the lease to the Board of Supervisors for their approval.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any additional discussion on the motion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? There are no opposed. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. We're excited about this. You know, we're anxious to see it move forward.
It's going to be an uphill.
Airport managers report. Safe travel, Steve.
Okay, FAA through the fence permit compliance review. We're still waiting on a response. Earlier this month, they did inform me that the permit is pending review. Sounds like they are definitely not done with that yet. I was hoping to have a response by now, but we are simply subject to the FAA's timeline. Whenever I talk to them about this, there's a lot of anxiety with the FAA right now because people have been laid off and rehired, and there potentially is going to be additional layoffs, and I think that's impacting their timeline. Conferences in March. So I attended the AAAE government conference in Washington, D.C. The Secretary of Transportation spoke at the conference and was happy to announce that the airport improvement program was fully funded, and they actually received more funding than they additionally anticipated. That is really good for the airport. Immediately following that, at the NBAA conference, the FAA Director of Airports for our region spoke about funding, and they specifically mentioned looking at funding for runway extensions at airports in Nevada. My biggest goal from attending these conferences was to determine whether or not we should continue to pursue the runway extension as our highest priority, because we are having to offset and push back pavement rehabilitation projects in order to make that a priority, and we're self-funding a lot of that pavement rehabilitation. I believe that I've learned from those conferences that we should continue to pursue the runway extension, and that we're likely to see, well, times are better now than they have been in the past to see potential funding for that. In our ASIP, our first grant is for a forecasting update to better determine the extent of the runway extension that we need to be pursuing. And the FAA has mentioned that they are concerned that they may need to consider a aircraft design group change in addition to, or in place of, the runway extension. So the forecasting update will hopefully provide them with the information they need to have a good, solid plan moving forward. Okay, so then There was a brief one-day closure of taxiway Bravo that required utility work that caused little to no disruption to aircraft. The tentative budget has been submitted to the state. Casey Nealon, they have been our auditor for the past couple of years. They've had a reduction of staff, and they are no longer able to accommodate the airport's audit. Hinton Burdick very quickly stepped up to help us out, and they have committed to completing the airport's audit. This company is the same company doing the audit for the city, so this may actually streamline the process of getting all of our paperwork together, because our audit is actually included in the city's audit report. I think this may also be helpful for helping us establish better policies and procedures that may be more in line with the city's operations. So I'm curious to see how that plays out with the feedback we get from the auditor. Airport operations. So over this past month, I received some feedback from Rick Lee, the supervisor of airport operations and maintenance, specifically as to the value of them being at the airport on the weekends. This 7-day week staff has proven very useful. The emergency operations phone line was contacted on more than one occasion for minor issues with like gate issues and people needing assistance, and we had staff available to provide that assistance when it was needed. That was one of my big objectives with getting additional staff and covering 10-hour shifts instead of 8-hour shifts, and it's paying off. There was a brake failure on the airport. Let's see here. It was on an aircraft that resulted in no incident or accident due to the pilot handling the situation very well. That pilot is in the room today, so congratulations to that pilot for doing a fantastic job. There was an individual who set up camp in front of the terminal building. We are not sure if this individual attempted to access the air side of the airport or not. However, the improvements to the access points that the airport maintenance staff have made would have contributed to preventing them from gaining access. And I think it's highly likely that that did prevent them from accessing the air side of the airport. The sheriff's office came out and they made sure that that individual was not in need of additional assistance and helped them move along. A Raven helicopter used the airport as a base for search and rescue operations this month, and they did perform a successful search and rescue operation, including a hoist and relocation of the person that needed assistance. So I'm really happy that the airport was able to be there for their support. Legacy Flights used the airport for volunteer flights for veterans. They were not able to make any flights due to weather. However, they will be back April 27th. This is a group, it's also known as Dream Flights. They provide flights for military veterans. It's a completely nonprofit organization, and they are considering using Carson City more often. I'd ask them that if they do intend to use the airport, that they provide us with an insurance policy with the airport listed as additionally insured. However, as a nonprofit, there won't be any charge for their operation, and they'll be able to use the terminal building for this purpose. Fuel sales, the data is currently incomplete for last month, so I don't have an update on fuel sales. However, airport operations are up substantially, 126% increase over last year. I think that's primarily weather related. We had almost no weather impacts this month, while historically we have had weather impacts in March. And you can see the detailed report for the ADSB numbers below that, and that is all that I have.
Thank you. Treasurer's report. Unless anybody has some questions for the airport manager, before we move on. If none, then treasurer.
The numbers are in front of you. There are no issues from my perspective. Happy to answer any questions from the board members. The only thing that I think that's noteworthy coming up is next meeting, we will be presented with an opportunity to improve the final budget for next fiscal year on the schedule that's prescribed by the state. And so at this point in time, that will look, unless something changes between now and then, that will look identical to the preliminary budget that we approved. So that's it.
Thank you. Member input? None? Okay. Report from authority members? Anybody? If not, is there any public comment here as we approach the end of the meeting? Three minutes.
Denny French. I appreciate the conversation, the interaction, the questions, the responses. It really is very informative, and I'm very appreciative that I was able to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Seeing none, agenda items for the next regular meeting. Anybody have anything? If not, then I think we are out of items and we are adjourned.